Here's how I took an online coach from $125,000 a month to $548,000 a month. And I was able to only have him take sales calls 1 day per week without collecting cash up front, and I doubled his show rates. And now the whole system's automated. So we're going to come down here to the whiteboard and we're going to knock this out and give you some context here on this offer and how I was able to do this. So here's how I went from $125K a month to $548,000 a month. Okay, we're going to split this down the middle and we're going to show you the before funnel and the after funnel. Right now, we're in a trust recession. So with being in a trust recession, that means that people are not showing up to calls as much. They're not buying on the first call as much. We get VSL to book call. Okay, these VSLs had opt-ins that then went to a setter. Now, in most industries, this would work very well. Why didn't this work here? Because the VSL was terrible. And the coaching space that he was in was very saturated. A lot of people teach this thing. It's real estate. A lot of people have a lot of options. They're able to go around and see what's up, which means that you got to build something like we didn't have this, which is what I like to call a unique mechanism. It's this thing in marketing that allows your product to be distinguished. Like one of my friends is Jeremy Miner. He has NEPQ. It allows you to be more distinguished. It has your own psychology behind it. And if someone goes on Google and searches NEPQ, only Jeremy's going to come up, no one else. So we're going VSL to opt-ins to a setter, then looping them around to a book a call. This was getting him about, if I remember clearly, it was about $350 a call. And his show rates were 30%, which means that he was paying about $800 per show, probably more than that. Yeah, if it's 30% show rates, which means that he was paying around $1,050 for a show on a $6K offer, which is obviously not scalable. But why was he still profitable $125K a month? Because he was taking the sales calls. He was the owner. Okay, the owner's supposed to close 70% or more. So he was still like sitting at a 2.5 ROAS. So what did we do to bridge the gap here? And just to give you all context, we really didn't spend that much on ads to do this $548K. We spent about the same amount in money in ad spend. So I believe the number was like $83K in spend. What did we do after is the most important part, because this wasn't working. His sales team was unmotivated. His sales team was quitting on him. He was always having to hire new people. He was blaming the sales manager. All these things were going on that were not going to fix this funnel. So instead, I said, hey, man, you're in a saturated niche. You need to be on camera more. You need to do webinars. You need to build more community. And just to also give you context, he was able to sit at 100K a month too because he had a big organic following. So organic was a huge tap for him. So dude, you got to get on camera to build trust. You got to get webinars to build authority. You got to build community to differentiate. Also, you get to be more efficient and your shows are going to increase, which in turn in any sales organization will increase the amount of closes that you get. Here is what we did instead. I said, hey man, we're just going to take the same amount of ad spend you're spending here and we're going to spend $20K a week. And we're going to get a bunch of people on a webinar and we're going to sell one-to-many. Now, I know what you're thinking. A $6K offer is very tough to sell one-to-many. So instead, I said, wait a second. If you host this thing on Thursday, so let's just split the calendar like this. Thursday, just so you know, if you do run webinar funnels, you need to let people book like literally right after the webinar. Okay, so we're going to call this the Webby, and then nighttime. So like it was 7 p.m. here, 8 p.m. here, and then Friday, all day were calls. Now, here's the most important part is that from 8 to around 11 o'clock, this is where most of the money was made. Because when they booked right after the webinar, they were the most excited. So webinar would be right here at 7 o'clock. Then right after, hey, click the link in the chat, book a call. From 8 to 11 is just slamming 6K deals. In the beginning of this, I said, hey, let's not have to collect all the money up front. Let's find a funding option. So what did we do? Okay, this is one of our partners right now, but we used WAP to where we used Klarna and Afterpay to be able to get that 6K up front just by paying an extra 2%. We still got paid up front. Most of the people were actually qualified because it was the real estate niche. So people have better credit in the real estate niche. So I was like, hey man, These people actually have money, but if they want to get funding and they don't want to pay it out of pocket, they're going to have good credit scores. They need a 680 or higher, and it's easy to get approved for 6K. So we did that, and his close is literally double just from funding alone. Just got to give you the math of how this breaks down. So I'm going to pull out my phone here soon, but let's say we're spending $20,000 a week. Okay, I remember my lead cost was about $8.50. We were getting about 2,350 leads a week. Now, out of those 2,350, average show rates on a webinar were about 23% for us, which means that 541 people showed. And standard on a webinar for booking rates are 18% to 22%. So we're just going to use times 0.18. That means that 97 people booked a call that week. That's 97 divided by 5 working days. That's a solid 19 calls a day. That is good for 2 salespeople, which caused you to have efficiency. He had 4 salespeople. It's like, dude, you don't need 4 salespeople. Now we have more efficiency. These 2 guys can make more money, higher employee retention. Things are going to be more scalable now. So remember about these 2,350 leads real quick. I want to come back to that. 2,350 leads. We had 19 times a 0.70 show rate. If we have 19 times 13 showed, 4 closed. It was a little bit higher than that, actually. It was about, I would say 5 closed. And remember, this is per day. Okay, so we take 5 closed. 5 times 6 was 30K on 20K in ad spend. That's one day, though. Okay, 30K times 5 was 150K a week. We ran this webinar every single week, and we had about 548K in revenue. That's right around 600K a month. Okay, some days could have been 22K. Some days were 31K. It just depends. But that's how the math broke down to be able to scale to these numbers. And that is a 7x return. Okay, and now we're just running the webinars. And now what else are we focusing on? We have those 2,350 leads. Now what are we implementing? We have setters calling. Okay, we're pushing the replay. And then we have tracking set up to the replay to where as soon as they're done watching, setter will then ring and dial. So now we can get those people to then be set plus closed too on a call. So they both work hand in hand. Not all booking call funnels are going to be fabulous. Some are great, like ours, and some are not great. It depends on your niche or vertical. A lot of business owners out there in the online space assume that there are cookie cutter solutions to their actual problems. They're not. You have to look at the business from an actual wide lens. And this is why we're crushing the space right now, because we're looking at not just your ads, but your ecosystem. So if you want to work with us and you want to see what it looks like to build these weekly webinars into your business, I'd love to have a chat, or you could talk to one of my senior advisors. Just click the link in the description, the calendar link, book a call with us, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.